So hello, now officially it's 5 minutes past 4, so we're gonna start. So welcome for this final training day of our Youth on Air online training course. Hope that you have enjoyed so far. And as usual, we have planned 2 sessions for today. In the first one, our key speaker is going to be Steph, as you met her last week. So, Steph, you raised our expectations after the last presentation skills session. So I'm sure it's going to be as much as interesting as it was a couple of days ago. So I think it's going to be practically our topic for the first session. We're going to speak about dissemination, about marketing strategies, maybe some kind of outreach plan and campaign. I checked Steph's presentations, a lot of, again, some nice exercises she has prepared, and to cover how we can reach out to audiences and also to potential maybe collaborators and so on. So that's going to be practically our topic for the first session. And in the second session, after a short break again, as usual, some 15 minutes break in between sessions, we will slightly start to wrap up the training course. First of all, we have some kind of a very brief evaluation. So think about highlights, lowlights of this training course, maybe some suggestions from your side. And then I'm going to share an evaluation form as a more formal document. And there is some also administrative stuff with the participant lists and so on. We're going to try to make it not to take too long, but some things we need to fulfill due to the regulations from the European Commission. So, and also we're going to use the last session to discuss the follow-up steps. Sino is with us here. So he's going to share how the project application has envisaged continuation of this program. But all about these details we're going to speak in the next session. So I'm really glad to open the first session for today. As I said, Steph is going to be our keynote speaker and expert in this field. And please be free to ask any questions, anything related to this content when we speak about dissemination and marketing of our future broadcasts and generally the outputs from this project application. So Sino, do you have anything before I pass the floor to Steph? No. Okay.
No, I will in the last part. I will.
The last part. Great. Anyone else to ask something? Maybe some logistical, technical issue, challenge, anything you want to raise before we open the session? Nothing? No problem. So Steph, the mic is yours.
Thanks very much. So yeah, it's lovely to see everybody again. Yes, today is all about marketing and dissemination, thinking about what that process is going to look like once you have generated your content and how we think about getting that into the public sphere. So same as last time, I'm just going to zip quickly into a little screen share. I've not quite got as many kind of activities as we would have had in the last session. This one is a little bit more kind of talky from my part, but I will take a couple of little pauses for you to think about particular things as we go along. So, as I said, this is all about how you're going to share that show or that podcast, that product that you've created with the public at the end of the project and how you get an audience. I'll speak a little word or two about the recruitment for your project, so how you look at getting participants to come and take part. And a lot of it is thinking about where people get their content, how people find it, and how you keep them hooked. So at the very, very beginning of your process, you will have probably had a little bit of a think about what your show is there for. why it exists, what job it is doing. In that process of designing your content, you hopefully would have had a bit of a think about who your audience would be. And that's an incredibly important thing that you've then got to come back to when we start to think about how we get that material out there. This is all about our audience. It's all about thinking about your audience and knowing about your audience.
Steph, sorry for interruption. Maybe just to put on the full screen, yeah?
Am I in presenter view?
Yeah.
On your screen? Okay. Oh, that's really annoying.
Sorry for interruption.
That's okay. It's just that I can't see my notes otherwise.
Oh, okay, no problem.
So it's super irritating, but that's okay. I just might forget things. There we go. I'm not quite improvising as much as I was in the last session. So the thing that you're going to need to think about is creating what we would call a listener avatar for your ideal audience member. Now, we know that there is no such thing as a mass of people who all think and feel and want the same thing out of any piece of content. But what a lot of radio stations in particular do is they will use information that they have, that they've collected from listener surveys, that they've generated with all of their content providers, and they use that to create an ideal person. And this isn't just a generic profile that says, oh, we think it might be men and women between 25 and 40. It's way, way more specific than that. It's almost like creating a character. So there are some key questions that I've set out here, but you can go into much, much greater depth about all of this stuff. So you're going to want to think about giving them a name. And that might sound really weird because these aren't real people that we're thinking about, but giving that character, that avatar, a name helps them to become very real for you and for the rest of your team while you're creating your content. So what's their name? How old are they? And give it a specific age as well. What's their gender, or how do they identify? What kind of job do they do for a living? And what does that information about their job tell us about the kinds of disposable income they might have, the kind of lifestyle they might have? What are their hobbies? What are their favorites? What kind of media do they like to consume? What problem are they looking to solve? And this is quite key. What's their problem? What are their needs? And how is your show going to help them solve that problem or satisfy their needs? So if that problem is to do with just simply wanting to be entertained, and that the people who are listening to your podcast are all really into hip hop, they're all really big music fans, they're all very, very passionate about music, they like to know information and detail about music, and hip hop is the genre that they're interested in. Maybe their problem is that they want to be entertained and they want to be informed at the same time. In fact, maybe their problem is that they really want to feel like they are always in the know about what the newest tracks are, who the newest artists are and what they're putting out. That is the problem that your podcast is going to solve, if your podcast happens to be a show about brand new hip hop artists. Okay, so again, it's really difficult to reverse engineer any of this stuff. If you've already got your content and you're then going backwards and trying to create that listener avatar from the material that you've already got, you are going to find yourself in some problems. So this is a piece of work that you're actually going to want to do right at the very, very beginning of that process. This information is going to guide how you create your content, and then it goes on to helping you work out how to get it out into the public. So, okay, so a little word about platforms. People access their audio content in a whole range of different places these days. And in a second, I'm going to bring up a list. And what I'm going to do, I'll actually come out of the share and I'm going to just say some of these names to you, and I'll bring you back into gallery on my screen so that I can see you put your hands up. And I want to know whether you've heard of any of these particular platforms and whether they are platforms that you use to get your own content, okay? Because there's absolutely loads nowadays. And as I was putting this list together, I also didn't know what quite a lot of them were. So let's start off with probably the most commonly used one. Wave at the screen if you get your podcasts from iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Okay, not loads. I do. That's the one that I use. How about Google Play? Any things that come off Google Play? Okay, because they tend to be a conduit for some other platforms. Okay, Spotify. Okay, a lot of Spotify. That's really interesting because I think Spotify is really accessible as a platform, and I think it's way less restricted by different kind of territorial restrictions than Apple Podcasts and iTunes tend to be. Here's a really big one, Acast. Does anyone use Acast specifically? Now that's really interesting. So Acast are not only a platform, they're also a producer. So a lot of big podcasts in the UK at the moment, particularly comedy podcasts, if anyone's a big comedy listener, I am. A lot of them are made by Acast, and then Acast also put them out on their own platform as well. So that's accessible just through the Acast website. So that's quite an interesting one. How about TuneIn? Who uses TuneIn at all? So TuneIn is a radio app. TuneIn is used to access radio stations that are not accessible on FM, the olden style things, but also might not have a specific DAB signature. So you're not always able to get a lot of radio stations on a generic DAB that you might have in your house or in your car. If anyone's got like a Google Home Nest thing, one of those creepy devices that listens to you in your house, I have one now. I think it's odd. When you ask that to play you a certain radio channel, like a commercial radio channel, that accesses that station through TuneIn. So it acts as an intermediary that other internet-based radio feeds can feed themselves into. And that will be a service that these different radio stations are paying in order to be able to be listed on. What else have we got? Okay, this is one that I hadn't heard of, but does anyone use Podbay? Okay, yeah, I hadn't heard of that one. There's also similarly named Podbean is another one. Podbean is an app. Rabia's got that, nice one. So as I understand it, Podbean is an app that is accessible on Android devices that gives you the same sort of interface and access to podcasts that your Apple podcasts would do. It's like just an intermediary app that enables you to access that content. Does anyone ever listen to stuff on SoundCloud? Okay, so I know that SoundCloud is more music based. That tends to be more of a platform where people will be putting up mixes that they've done or tracks that they've produced. But then there's also Mixcloud as well. Does anyone use Mixcloud? Georgia, cool. Georgia, what have you listened to on Mixcloud?
The only time I've used it was to listen to a friend's radio show, a friend from university. So I hadn't heard it before then, but I have used it that one time. And she does like a kind of a music show where she interviews musicians and has live performances as well.
Cool.
So that's the only thing.
they're both really interesting platforms. So SoundCloud and Mixcloud are both very, very accessible platforms that you can access paid versions and paid features to be able to use them. But at their basic level, they are free to be able to upload to. SoundCloud, as I say, is more music based, and it tends to be music artists that are putting their work out there, whereas Mixcloud lends itself a little bit more to speech content as well. So there's lots of different platforms out there. Let's just zip back into this again. Making the choice as to what platform you want to use is very much about thinking about all of that information that you've got from your listener avatar. Doing your research is really key. So finding out some key information about each of those platforms and the many, many more that also exist that I haven't listed, and thinking about what each of their advantages and disadvantages are. Some will have free versions. Some you will end up getting so far down the line with uploading things or doing things and then hit a paywall, which is incredibly frustrating when you're trying to work online and put content online. So the more research that you are able to do into these platforms before you start thinking about using them, the better. You can then make the case for why you've chosen that to host your content. And you can start to try and make your communications out to your audiences as accessible as possible, because it may be that the platform that you choose might not be a platform that is hugely accessible or obvious to the audiences that you're aiming your content towards. Okay, so now we're going to think a little bit about an online identity for the show. So what I mean when I talk about that is where does the show exist? So obviously it is going to exist on whatever platform is holding the content. That's one thing. But you can't rely on a platform like Apple Podcasts or Mixcloud to do any of the other work for you. It's literally just holding your content in its hand. It's not doing anything. All of the rest of the work that happens to get the content out there is all you. So are you going to have a website for the show? You might want it, you might not. What social media channels are you going to use? You don't have to use them all, but think about which ones are going to be relevant. You're going to want to go back to your avatar again. Keep going back to that listener profile, that listener avatar, and think about mapping out what social channels they use. Depending on their age, they may or may not be remotely interested in Facebook. They might use Twitter, they might not. They might be interested in TikTok or Snapchat. It's very, very much about the demographic that they sit in. And think also about, once you're using that website or those social channels or both, what kind of content are you going to post? How are you going to use that to make it engaging for an audience? Because just constantly having a Twitter account and just consistently posting out the link to your show over and over and over again, that's not going to get anybody excited. That's just a link. It explains nothing about the context. It doesn't make anybody excited about what you might have to share. Okay, so I'm going to give you some quick to do here, I think, just to give you a little bit of a break from my voice. So what's on the screen right now is a full version of an activity that you might do. So the activity that you would do is to choose 2 or 3 social media channels that you think would be appropriate for your show. Have a think about what the makeup of those channels are. So are they text-based like Twitter and LinkedIn? Are they super visual like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok? Or do they use both like Facebook? An interesting thing to add in about Facebook is that it enables you to think about engaging in different ways. So quite a lot of the podcasts that I listen to engage with their audiences through having a closed Facebook group. So yes, they've got their public stuff that they put out there in order to get audience, but it's not just about getting a first audience. It's also about keeping that audience, getting a loyal following that are going to listen show after show after show and get those subscriber numbers up there. So a lot of these comedy podcasts in particular will create a closed Facebook group. They will advertise the fact that that exists on the show, and loads of people join it. And that's a chance for fans to speak to each other. It's a chance for the people that are on the podcast to have a little bit of engagement with the fans. Sometimes the shows will use it as a way of eliciting a bit of feedback or getting some ideas from the listeners about what they should feature in the programs. So that's something else to just consider with Facebook. So the next part of that activity would be to design a launch campaign for the show, content that will go out through the channels over the course of, say, a week, building up to that launch day. The show should launch towards the end of the campaign, and social media content that follows should help people to continue to find the episode. And there's a social media calendar, which I've included in the appendices of the toolkit that I can link you to at the end of the session as well. You might want to consider things like competitions and other ways of getting responses from an audience, using or creating your own hashtags, using influencers, or thinking about which important figures you could get to share your content, retweeting. Do you want to use your platform to start a conversation or a debate on a topic that's relevant to your content as a way of getting listeners to start a conversation that you would then continue and complete in the show? So what I'd like you to do is just, we're going to take a few minutes. Again, I'm going to set my timer again, like I did last time. And we'll take a quick 3 minutes. And I just would like you to think about the very beginning of what that exercise looks like. Take a social media channel, an example of a social media channel, maybe one that you're familiar with. And I want you to think about how you would maybe use that channel to promote a show that maybe you've been thinking about, or that you've been cooking up ideas for throughout the training course. Okay, I'm going to leave the screen up actually, because that might be more helpful to you. And we will take our 3 minutes now. Okay, I'm just going to pop out of the share so I can see faces. There we go. So, has anyone got any bright ideas about how to make use of any particular social media channels to promote your work? This is a great opportunity to nick ideas off each other as well. Really, really good. So, anyone got anything that they would like to say first? Shukran.
Yes, so I've got an idea using Instagram. You can have a page on Instagram and you can promote that page, and it doesn't actually cost so much. Depends on what you are promoting. So maybe 20 cents will be one promotion.
Yes, boosted posts and promoted posts across Instagram and similarly applies for Facebook as well, are also really good. And the good thing about using boosted or promoted posts is that you can choose your audience then. So it takes you through a process where you can narrow down those demographics of who you want, whose feed you want that information to go to. Anybody else? Semi.
So I would choose to use TikTok because considering the fact, like I'm taking it from my personal point of view, but also my friends, the attention span in teenagers has increased a lot. So like TikTok uses videos that are 15 to 60 seconds long. So I guess you can catch people's attention more in like 15 seconds. And also it's more easier to become viral on TikTok using the right hashtag. So I guess your videos would go more viral than on Instagram or maybe other platforms. And also there is this page in TikTok. It's called No Good IO, and it's like a promotion for their website, and they just do like a lot of student guides. And some of their articles are very helpful, some are not. But the way they advertise their articles on TikTok is very catchy because they use like the newest trends and they just put in their information and all of that. So I guess TikTok would be a very helpful platform as well.
Cool, thank you. That sounds really interesting. It's not something that I've ever really looked into, but it sounds like there's some really good tools in there that could be great to be able to share amongst the group as well, and share a little bit of expertise in how to use that as a platform. Has anybody else got any other ideas that they want to share? Okay, cool. Let's move on. Okay. So one of the things that you've got to try and remember to do is to integrate these two different kind of sets of media with each other. So your online presence is really, really key in boosting the listeners that you're going to get for your show. Obviously, that's the main objective of doing it, but you kind of have to see it in a bit of a kind of cyclical motion. They feed into each other. So you've got to remember to try and talk about your social media on the show and direct people to engage with you that way. Because that way your own listeners, they're going to be upping your numbers on your social media channels. The more that they're able to share and interact, the better your algorithms are going to be. That's going to boost your general presence in how you crop up on people's feeds. And the whole thing just feeds itself then as well. It's a great cycle to be able to get into. It's also worth considering whether the platform that you're using, so that space where you're hosting that content, rewards positive views and comments with better visibility. So the example of that is Apple Podcasts. So what you tend to find is when you're listening to a show, people will say, please remember to like and subscribe and give us a review. Because the more positive reviews, especially the reviews that are accompanied by a comment, a text review, the more that podcast gets, the higher they climb up in the algorithm and the more likely they are to crop up on people's feeds. So know what your ask is to your audience, understand what that call to action needs to be, but try not to have too many calls to action. You don't want to spend like 10 minutes at the end of your show listing all of your social media channels and giving people a massive jobs list, to do, because then they're actually not going to do any of the things. Have one specific call to action that you need them to do. A couple of little tricks and tips for social media. So it's worth considering converting your show into a YouTube video. And obviously gives you an additional platform to be using. So you've got somewhere else that's hosting your content, but you've also got another social platform, which again has an algorithm that you can play with. It's easily done through converting your MP3 file into an MP4 and then choosing an image or a series of images to run over the top. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be a live version of your show. You can just accompany the audio with something that you deem appropriate. If you're any good at using a simple editing software like iMovie, then consider keeping the audio as an MP3 and creating a short video that illuminates that content. Then don't forget to also include your social media and your main download or stream links within the text section of your YouTube channel. There's also a really cool little thing called audiograms. And audiograms convert a short piece of audio into a visual representation that looks like a sound wave. And that's another potential thing that you can use on your social media. That's not something that you would want to use to create a whole video. You wouldn't be doing that for converting something over to YouTube. But there's a couple of examples. There's a podcast that I listen to called All Killer No Filler, who regularly take little clips of the show from that week or month, will pop a generic photo that's part of their promo pack on it, and then they'll create a little audiogram out of about a 25 to 30 second clip of the content. So people who are scrolling through their Instagram feed will hear a section of the podcast, but they will see the cute little visual there as well. And that's really, really effective. So some other approaches, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly pop back into presentation view in a second, just because I've got notes on this bit and I need to be able to see them. There we go. There was a couple of other examples. There we go. So on the previous social media example, thinking about what those calls to action are, trying to make them as quirky and as appropriate to the tone of your content as possible is really, really important to think about. So again, there's another example of a podcast called What a Creep, which is an American show where two ladies talk about creeps in the media and in film and in music and stuff. It's very good, it's very funny. And they have a particular call to action that they use across all of their social channels, where they ask people to share a certain GIF when they've got a suggestion of somebody that they think would be a good person to cover on the show. And it's a particular GIF from Ghostbusters, which is just a character saying, "We got one." And for them, that's a cool, quirky little thing that their audience respond to, but it also is a bit of a shortcut for them as well, because it enables them to be able to sift through their mentions on Twitter or on Instagram to find where those suggestions are coming from. So it's a really useful little shortcut that's great for the audience, but also great for them too. Generating audience for anything is hard. It doesn't matter what the art form is that you are working within. It's a play or an album or a website. It doesn't matter what it is, getting an audience is hard. So you have to consider the fact that the work doesn't stop once the product is created. And I think a really key thing for you to take away into your projects when you're working with groups of young people to create content is, when you are scheduling out your workshops, don't have the final product as the final session, because what on earth is going to happen afterwards? We need to be able to think about how we engage those young people in all of that hard work that happens afterwards. there's a little period where if you were doing this professionally, it would kind of be like an eat, sleep, breathe the show period. So you're going to want to think about utilizing word of mouth when you're out at an event. If you're networking, if you're with a group of friends, tell them about what you've created, encourage them to connect with you through their social media. Trying to get those shares and that interactivity at the beginning is key. There are also some online communities that you can be part of. There's a list of them in the toolkit, and they're a great place to gain some additional support and share your content with others. So some of them exist on places like Reddit, but there are also a few other forums out there as well. And you might also discover other podcasts that are relevant to your listeners, and you can cross-promote them. If you find a show which you think your listeners are going to really enjoy, create a couple of social media posts, tag that show into it, and tell your listeners about how great it is. Because it's a bit of a you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing. They might do the same thing to you. They might at the very least then listen to you because you're on their radar. It's all going to up your numbers and help your engagement. And then also the next step to that might be to be a guest and get others to be a guest on your show. Because any guest that features on a show brings with them an audience that are potential new listeners to you. If you do get a guest on your show, try and get them to also record an extra little shout out that promotes your show that you can clip up and use as a 20 or 30 second sort of snackable, social media friendly little bit of audio content that you can pop out there. And again, it's mixing up the different types of media that you're getting out on your social media channels. So last word is stepping outside of promoting the show and promoting the content for a moment and actually thinking about how you promote your project and how you get participants to actually come and take part with you. And I'm not going to lie, this is probably the hardest bit of any piece of engagement work, particularly when your target audience is young people. So what I've done is just given you a few key questions that I think you should consider when you're developing your project plan. The first one being, is your project going to openly recruit young people, or are you going to work with an existing group or organisation? It's far easier to work with an existing group, to knock on the door of a community group or a youth group and say, hey, I've got this project, would you like to get involved? You've then got a ready-made group of young people, and in a lot of cases you've also then got a ready-made sort of schedule to work within as well. But if you want to open recruit, think about how you're going to do that and whether to give and how much time it is going to take. Are you going to use social media? Are you going to contact schools or community groups? How are young people going to sign up for it? How are they going to find out information about it? So it's quite an involved thinking process. Secondly is what's there for the young person? What's in it for them? What are they going to achieve? What are they going to learn? What is the value of the end product to them? Is this something that they're going to want to take away with them and share with people? Is this something that is going to help them writing their personal statement for getting into university? Is there an accreditation attached to it? So can they get any sort of qualification? And is there a progression pathway? Is there something that they can do next? Or are they just kind of cut adrift at the end of that project? Be very clear about the level of commitment. How many sessions are they going to do? Is it going to be live or online? Are you expecting them to do any work outside of the sessions? So if they need to have as much information as possible before they make that decision to commit to your project. And working with partners is going to be really key and really important. So think about whether you want to have a relationship with a school or with a youth club or with another arts-based organisation that may be in your local area. They might be able to target a specific group of young people with you. They might be able to put you in contact with other contacts and relationships that they have. Couple of little references there for you. I'll do the same thing again like I did last time, and I will post the file that I've just been presenting with in the chat. That felt really, really, really quick. It was just over 35 minutes, and I feel like I've really kind of hammered through that. So it would be great if anybody has any questions or comments or any additional thoughts that they would like to share.
Rabia?
Hey, Rabia.
So, right, I wanted to ask, would you be able to give us like a short paragraph that when you're approaching organizations, if you want to work with them, that we could give them something that's like official?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, we can definitely do that from a Peshkar point of view, but that's certainly something for everybody to consider when you're in your relationship with your host organizations as well, is getting the ask and the description of the project right, and making sure that it's kind of shared and accurate between as many people as possible. Yeah, that's absolutely doable. Anything else? Georgia?
I can't remember who mentioned it before in the previous session, but somebody said something about being careful when working with other organizations and when approaching them, being very clear as well about kind of where credit goes, and just being aware of organizations sometimes having the tendency to try and own the project rather than kind of engage with. And I think that's definitely something to be aware about, and maybe just have, strategies in place to be clear about who this is for and who's involved and who's in charge. Something to think about.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of almost sort of moving into a kind of a bit of a project management stuff, really, in thinking about how you negotiate working in partnership, I guess. I mean, I suppose us in the UK, we know sort of how we're operating and how external partnerships will probably work in relation to Peshkar, but I don't know how everybody else is operating. So it's worth considering whether, when you are doing these projects, you are working as a solo artist or worker, where the ownership of the intellectual property that is created sits, and whether you want to put anything in writing in terms of creating any partnership agreements with externals that you might be engaging to help you achieve the end goal. I wouldn't say that it's always 100% necessary to have a partnership agreement, but if you are worried about it, if you're new to doing that sort of work, then the more you get in writing and as a paper trail, the better, because it will just help you feel better in the long run. But that's what all of us, all your main contacts from the partners in the project, that's what we're here for, to support you with that process. Any more for any more?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So, Rabia's got another question. Go for it.
Right, is there, I know, is it quite open what the expectation is how many sessions you have with group? Because, we're all in lockdown at the moment, and come March, we still might be in lockdown. So access to young people may be limited to a certain number of sessions.
That's a question for our next meeting.
Right, okay.
That's a UK question.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, that was it. I'm out.
Awesome, nice one. Okay, I'm gonna start uploading things into the chat.
Anyone else, maybe?
Hello. Hi, I was just wondering about the creating of an avatar. Is that kind of something you'd see as an activity to do with young people? Like this, do you see like this promotion stuff as yeah, is this part of the, do you think it, yeah, just wondering what your, maybe some advice on workshops, like about promotion, or whether you think sometimes we'll do it and sometimes not.
Yeah, I think certainly the listener avatar thing is definitely a workshop activity that I would recommend doing, because it's really, really useful for when you're planning your content at the beginning of the program. So it's something that you would do when you were getting everything prepped, and it's quite a cool, nice, fun thing to do. I think it really kind of depends on what's right for the group and what the purpose of the piece is, what the purpose of the show is that is created, as to how in depth you go with the promo side of things. It might be that it is a really huge part of the project if the group that you're working with are really keen on trying to get listeners for the piece of work that they do. In which case, and if they're, I'd say probably if they're a slightly older group that you're working with, then I think the transferable skills that you get out of doing this kind of work is really, really valuable. And if we're thinking about what the value of the project is to young people, then developing the kind of skills that they're going to get from learning about how to market a piece of content using social media and online is actually really attractive and a really cool thing for them to do. However, conversely, you might have another group that are perhaps a little younger or a little less far along, and for them the objective is purely about getting them confident enough to be able to have their own voices on a recording, in which case the product is an internal product almost. Really, it's a project product rather than something that is ever going to be put out into the universe. So there's no necessity for you to start trying to like sell commercially something that comes out at the end of it. But it's an interesting set of tools to try and think about in the longer term, I think.
Great. Anything else for Steph? Once again, Steph, thank you for the great presentation. I was commenting with Sinisha, it's like that we are watching some TV show, it is like a tutorial with some nice tips and tricks how to do the things. But I think presentation skills is something more related to your know-how, to your expertise. But I really like this one as well. That's
that's what I always say to people, is that's the value of a little bit of drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Always be encouraging young people to just do a little bit of drama, and that it boosts that ability so much. But thank you so much, everybody. It's been great to see you again. I'll catch up with the UK guys very soon, and good luck to everybody else.
Great, thank you so much. There is nothing for Steph. You can say goodbye to Steph. Of course, you can stay with us if you have time, but otherwise we see each other. And thank you so much for sharing the presentation. We'll stay in touch, and if there is some questions afterwards for you, I'll be very glad to pass this to you. Thank you so much, Steph. Okay, so we have, let's say, some time more maybe to use and to discuss what we have covered in this session. So it's more kind of a reach out strategy to different kind of stakeholders and so on. So I would use this, let's say, next 15-20 minutes, not more than this, to think about the first thing, how to reach out to potential collaborators. So I think it would be good also to, we already have mentioned today, how we could use, I don't know, social media, how we could use word of mouth, some of our current ongoing activities in our organization, so on. But I would say that could be one cohort of our future activities, how to reach out potential collaborators, young people that we're going to facilitate in running this radio broadcasts and so on. So they can be, one group can deal with this, how to reach out to collaborators. The second topic I consider important should be how to reach out to our audiences. So to young people with underprivileged communities, but generally young people in our communities that we want to stress out to with some particular topic we would like to cover through this radio broadcast and so on. So the second group, I mean, should focus on potential activities, potential sharing of know-how, maybe best practice examples, maybe failures in this field as well, you know, because also we learn on our failures. These are our lessons learned. So to share how to reach out to our identified audiences and who should be our audiences that we are trying to reach out to. And finally, how to reach out to wider communities. When I say wider communities, I mean donors that potentially can ensure sustainability. I don't know, local authorities, school authorities, other NGOs, any public institutions that can support this, business sector that in some countries is willing to support as a part of their CSR, corporate social responsibilities and so on. So I think it would be good to think in these three segments. And I don't want to create the groups around this. I would ask if it's possible to have some moderators of these groups. I can be one. I need 2 more colleagues to help and to stay in these three, in each of these groups. So, and all others will have opportunity to move from one group to another. So you go to group number 1, let's say how to reach out to potential collaborators. You give your feedback. Anything you hear something that you, and then when you hear some, you share something that you have, you maybe listen something that other people have. At some point when you consider that you gave as much as you could, you can move completely on your own. You don't need to wait for me. You can leave the room and easily to jump into another room and then to contribute to another room. And then in the last stage to the third room. Only the moderators are going to stay all the time in their rooms in order to collect your feedbacks and afterwards to present it in plenary. Is it clear how we're going to continue with this? Okay. Do I have, can I have please 2 more moderators? I can be one, but I cannot be at the same time in 3 groups. So it would be good if I have like two supporters. Okay, Maria, is it okay to go? Thank you, Rabia. So Maria, maybe is it okay to go to these collaborators, how to reach out to potential collaborators? Okay, I will assign you to this. And Rabia, how to reach out to audiences, is it okay? Great. Okay, I will be in the how to reach out to wider communities. All other people can go to any room they want. Please try to spread it out as much as possible equally. So not to have like in Maria's room, 10 people and no one in my room and in my room and in Rabia's. So okay, let's try to, as much as possible, spread it equally. And it's up to you how long you're gonna stay in each of the room. Okay, let's try this. It's a new feature of Zoom. So let's try how does it work. You're supposed to have invitation and you can choose to which room you want to come. So guys, did you get any invitation?
No.
Yeah. It says I can see the breakout rooms.
Yeah.
And what do I just?
Okay. I named the group.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
have okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Zakaria, nice.
Yeah, I saw it. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. So go to breakout rooms.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble seeing the breakout rooms.
Check it where this share screen, polling, pause, stop recording, and that in that row. Okay, Gloria, is okay?
Yeah, I've got it. It's, so the blue number, when you click on the blue number, it turns into join.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't see that. All right, cool.
Is it okay, Simona?
No, I still don't see it. I don't think so.
Me too, I don't have it.
You don't have
Me
it?
neither.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Probably, maybe we didn't update the latest
Maybe you didn't
version.
update the latest version, which makes sense, but maybe, I mean, so try to see, okay, I can move to some of the rooms, no problem, but you're supposed to have option to go from one room to another. Okay. So nothing in this breakout room, no, nothing, yeah?
No, nothing, just the basic stuff down there.
The basic stuff down there. Okay. Okay, I will try to assign to some rooms. And then you can leave room and then I can put you back. I mean, Simona, nothing again, huh?
Hi, Sinisha, could you hear me? Okay.
So hello back. Hope that you enjoyed your group discussions. We had some difficulties at the beginning with this new Zoom feature, but eventually this has functioned. I saw in Maria's group, these collaborators, how to reach out to collaborators, that for a long period only Maria and one more person were there. But at some point, we tried another tool here, so we can see the feedback, and we can share the feedback as well from this methodological aspect as well. So I will start briefly with my group. So how to reach out to wider communities. We have identified some potential stakeholders, from the more formal one to some, let's say, less formal, informal ones. So from school authorities, local administration, local municipalities, city halls, and so on, school authorities, business sector, as a one huge potential to reach out to in order to try to get their support for sustainability of our projects, of our activities, these radio broadcasts, and so on. So we had identified them. On the other hand, we also mentioned some less formal institutions, such as charity organizations, some religious places and communities, different kind of social communities, and many other influencers or some prominent individuals. They could support your efforts and your activities in the community, sometimes only without any remuneration, without any financial funds that you need to give to them to support you, but only by reaching out to them. They could be your, at least through word of mouth, they could be your source of spreading the voice about your organization or your projects and so on. So we just listed some of them. Some experiences have been shared about potential obstacles, and especially when we speak about business sector, in business sector and their corporate social responsibilities. Just to be aware of the fact that sometimes they just want to wash their image by giving the money to some of these to some of charities or some organizations that are dealing with young people. So you need to be very cautious about this and to measure to what extent you're willing to contribute to their marketing campaigns and marketing plans, if I may say so. So just to be aware of that. But in general, by reaching out to local authorities and school authorities, you can see there is a potential. Maybe they have some, some spare funds or something, some budget lines they could easily fit to your needs when we speak about development and further production of our radio broadcasts. So that's kind of in brief. So also people from the group also can contribute if I miss something to say. Okay, there is nothing to be added. I will maybe pass the floor to Maria and how to reach out to potential collaborators.
Yeah, we talked about how to reach out to potential collaborators, and basically most approaches revolved around the idea of first planning the topic of your show or the podcast, the content that you want to cover, and then choosing your collaborators accordingly. Meaning, if you want to talk about health issues, for example, then maybe you can approach, I don't know, certain organizations such as the Red Cross. Mutual benefit actually being an important element in this collaboration. Then another, so this would be from topic to collaborators approach, and another way would be from collaborators to topic. For example, you can choose a specific group. Let's say if you want to tackle LGBT rights, then you might just reach out to certain organizations actually dealing with this, and then make the content, or just just pick one particular topic that you want to tackle. Then some people mentioned that you can approach youth organizations that you already work with, which is probably the most straightforward way. And again, have a couple of ideas in your mind about possible several possible win-win scenarios or win-win situations. How you can, as Steph already mentioned, scratch your back and you can scratch mine. So yeah, and then we had we had one idea about hosting an application for collaboration online, so people can join in, but that has this is quite a wide-angled approach, so it probably has more cons than pros. Yeah, and definitely reach out to some famous podcasts that are already there, and or maybe some local radio stations that already deal with certain topics, and then you can ask them to help you collaborate with you. Yeah, I think that I covered everything, but if I missed something, just please feel free to join.
Thank you, Maria, so much. We will hear Rabia, and to easily conclude this session.
Okay, so we discussed how to reach out to audiences. So it was really interesting, depending on what topic people were going to do their podcast, depending on what social media and what their strategy was. So we had some really great suggestions, using Fiverr to help promote your podcast, paying someone to get you lots of audience, using word of mouth, posting little snippets of your podcast on Instagram stories and YouTube, but trying to not just concentrate on the podcast, but also the promotion thing altogether. And also it was another question of whether young people would listen to a podcast, and it wasn't just about making a podcast, but whether they'd listen to it, whether it'd be popular enough, or whether it'd have any reach, and also how to capture the audience and reaching out to schools. And I mean, I don't know, I've worked with schools, and it's a long process. You have to tell them it'll be in September in order to get something for December, because there's so many levels of management.
So what kind of obstacles you have occurred working with them, apart to this that you need to think in advance? Because I usually do with schools administration as well, and I have the same impression. You need to plan so much in advance.
It's almost like if you know the school, they may do it quicker. Otherwise, it's really difficult for you not to know that place, and then they might it'd be just on the back burner, and it's a case of harassing them and pestering them. So it's easy if you have a contact or somebody, whether it's through LinkedIn, that you can approach and get them to approach directly to the school or the community centre. But I think it's a legal issue some places that they don't want just anybody coming in and being in contact with young people. So the other thing was doing a survey online to capture people who are interested in doing a podcast to get an audience. So you can use Facebook for that. So that might be the other way around, where you've got places who want you to do community work with them, that they would come and contact you rather than you trying to find them. And the other, and just before we came out of the breakout room was maybe contact local celebrities and get them to help promote, because they all want to promote their image with young people. So they might want to either come on or post you on their own feed or on their own YouTube channel, which might help a lot. I think I covered everything. If I've missed something out, please feel free to add it in.
Thank you, Ravi, so much. Yeah, I think also this last point with influencers or celebrities, however we call them, I think also is you know, it's very good, especially on the local levels from smaller places. They're not these big celebrities, you know, that we see them on TV. So, and also this local celebrities sometimes is easier to reach out to, and their voice also could be heard and could be very useful for us as well. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Maria and Rabia, for helping. Anything else before we conclude the session? Okay, in that case, let's say again 15 minutes of break. So let's come back at 5:50. Yeah, 5:50. Yeah, then we're gonna a little bit speak about evaluation and finally about follow-up steps. So take some rest and see you in 15 minutes. Back, maybe to wait a couple more people. In the meantime, we can use this time. I share with you this participants sheet. So please write down your details. Couple of things, just your name, date of birth, and so on. It's necessary for the report. So while we are waiting for others, maybe we can use this just to fill out this form which I shared in chat. So at this stage, please leave this field, the signature. Sino is going to let you know afterwards about these, but please fill out all other fields. I think everyone is here, so we can continue with our last session of this training day. So yeah, that's the last session of our plan for these 5 working days. I think we covered a lot of things. For sure, it would be better that we could meet in person and that we could organize this training face to face with all of us somewhere, maybe in Antwerp, I don't know, Sino, or somewhere. I don't know how was originally planned, but somewhere, and to meet and to discuss all of these issues. But I think that we tried as much as possible to simulate the conditions and to provide you a series of experts, not to have one person dealing all the time with about all subjects, but to have experts which are much more into some of these topics that we try to cover throughout the working plan and this working flow that we have had in the last five working days. So before we move on to this formal evaluation and so on, I think it would be good to discuss a little bit, to reflect on our training course and to provide some feedback to us as organizers. For Sino as someone who is leading the consortium, some fewer leaders from your organization, but also for me as moderator. To be honest, it's one of the first time to organize this kind of a training in online manner. So any kind of feedback would be very useful to all of us to improve how we are doing online activities and to improve our approaches and methodologies, formats, time slots, and everything. So I would start with something pretty much broad, but then I will give a floor to all of you. So I would kindly ask you to take your cell phones or just open another tab in your computer, however you want. You remember that we use this Menti, so please go to www.menti.com and use the code which you can see on the screen. So 1748393, and then you will see the question from my screen. You can have three answers. You can share 3 answers for each of you. So what have been your highlights from this training course? Something that you will bring with yourself as the highlight of all 5 days. So we're not speaking only about today. We're speaking about all 5 training days. So please share any of your highlights from this training course. I'll give you some time to self-reflect, and then I can open the floor in plenary and we can discuss the list a little bit. Okay, we have 8 people here out of 11, so maybe to wait a minute or two, and please be free to share after one more minutes. Please to share some of your highlights that people together with all of us. So far we have like new approaches, different perspectives, which is interesting. Presentation with Tamara and interviewing guests, experts, connecting with new people, gaining new skills, exercises, meeting experts, media, okay, podcasts, and so on. So anyone want to share about the highlights that you would like to bring with you, not just related this project and further implementation, but also in general regarding your current work as youth workers or a member of some NGO or as individuals interested in this topic. So anything you would like to share as something you would bring with you, some competencies you have gained here. Is there anything?
I've learned a lot more about radio and podcasts, and I definitely was not an expert before, but now I feel definitely like I've got the skills and the tools, at least to get me started. So yeah, I'm glad for that.
Thank you, Georgia, for this. Anyone else? Yep, Huma.
It was a really great experience, meeting all the new people, getting to know them, and learning from all the experts. I had no idea about any of this, and I feel like I am well equipped to go on and do the project, which is really great considering we've only been doing this we've only been doing this for like only a couple of days, so I feel like it's been really good, and thank you so much to you guys for doing such a great job. Thank you.
Huma, for nice words. Anyone else? Shukran, I see that you're about to speak. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. So this time my face didn't lie. So actually, this was my first time I did something not only online but in general. I never participated anything like this, and what I learned was like about Mentimeter. That is something good. I can use with students as well to see if they learned the lesson well. So yeah, thank you so much for everything you guys shared with us.
Nice. Zakayo, if there is a one thing that you would bring with you, what that would be?
Scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Okay.
Always look for a win-win situation.
Okay.
That's not only for this radio program, but that's just something that always, because we always have a tendency of thinking as an organization, we're going to do everything on our own. But in the current context of the society, you cannot do everything on your own. So you, at some point, you're always having to go and look for partnerships, and that's something that's a really, really important takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zakayo. Yeah, Shukran, of course.
I want to say something. You know, when I started this, I was discussing this with my parents, and I was telling them that this is something about the radio, and there's, if I can say a joke, my dad told me, and he said, like, when the radio first time came in our city, you know, everyone gathered around and, you know, wondering what it is. And there was an old man, and he said, I understand everything, but I just don't understand how the singer fit in there. And now I'm imagining like where the radio like came. I mean, not only in a box like this, but you can listen online in application and everywhere.
Nice. Thank you. Lurian, what the cat is saying about the highlights. What do you think?
She enjoyed it very much. She's very much into podcasting, and she wasn't. Now she's got the confidence to maybe try and start her own podcast and work for them.
Nice, great. But also always there are some, you know, highlights. I think it's also is important to think about some lowlights. So again, please take your phones or your devices and think about some lowlights you would like to share. Please be honest, it's something important for us. We want to improve ourselves. We want to, any kind of feedback from your side would be very useful for us. So think about time slots from technical aspect, methodological aspect, approaches that we have used, inputs from experts, some particular sessions, workshop moments, anything you consider important. Okay, let's say 1 or 2 minutes more, but we can see mostly your comments are related to not meeting in real life or this face-to-face meeting, sometimes a little confusing, slow presentations, sometimes too dull and repetitive, too much packed info, a lot of information in these time slots, no face-to-face meeting, some things being repeated, no biscuits, okay, next time, yeah, to prepare something for your own. Or to wait for next time when we see finally in person. Hope this era is gonna come again. So anyone wants to share? I'm gonna bring screen again. So anyone wants to share about these? Can talk outside. Yep. Something about maybe the structure of the sessions. Maybe if you have opportunity to go and work again. So what would be your suggestion about maybe the session duration? Some of you said like too much packed info, so a lot of information. So should we make like a more number of sessions that would last shorter, or it would be, you know, the same duration but with more examples and less packed info? So how would you say that these training courses could be organized, as we have, let's say that to pretend that we have opportunity to organize it once again from the very beginning with the same participants? What kind of changes you would propose? Yeah, Lorianne and then Semi.
I think it'd be good to kind of, because I know some people who are presenting covered some of the same aspects as other people. But might have been nice to have an activity related to the certain part or the subject, so we knew that we'd kind of covered it, and we'd kind of present the activity on each section, or some kind of full stops basically.
Thank you so much. Semi?
So in my opinion, not that it was bad, it was still good, but I think the sessions were a bit too long. And one thing, not reduce the hour of the sessions, but put more breaks in between, or just more activities, make it like more interactive, because I could find myself getting a little bit sleepy after like a long presentation, though everything else was great.
Thank you for sharing this very important input to us. Okay, so definitely as a conclusion, some shorter sessions, maybe with more breaks or more interactive elements in between the inputs. So not to have this big input from the experts, maybe to divide the inputs in more, more lots, and that's how to present this. Also think about the whole flow, and maybe some of you mentioned kind of a repetition from one expert to another. And Ruby also just want to share this, sorry for mentioning you in person, this participant list you will see in chat, or I can, so please enter your name in the participant list, it's there. So please just enter your name in the, maybe others also if they miss to put their name in the participants list. Okay, thank you very much for sharing this. And the last slide from my side is more numeric one, and to see to what extent your expectations have been met through this training course. So to what extent your expectations have been met, please rate on this Menti, and easily can move on to evaluation form. Okay, thank you for this as well. So mostly expectations have been met with these comments from your side, from the previous slide about these small lowlights. I think this could be improved even better and make it real good training course on this. Thank you for sharing this. Maybe Sino, if you want to add on something before we share this evaluation form, which don't worry, it's not going to be too long for you, but also is important for evaluating the whole training course and to be part of the report, but also to give us maybe some feedback in written that some of you didn't want to give it now in a plenary, but to be anonymous and to make it, you know, more thorough feedback from your side on this. So Sino, if you want to add something at this point,
yes.
or yeah.
Yes, I want to do thanks to everybody for your feedback, because like Igor mentioned, it means a lot to us. It is as well first time for me to organize something online. And to be honest, in the beginning, I wanted like 5 hours sessions to make. So that will be really not okay. And thank you for your participation. So we will take this feedback for sure, and in the future activities, I hope it will be face-to-face, because I'm more face-to-face person, and I hope everybody of you, but we will take this into the consideration. Thank you for your honesty. And I will come back later about the follow-up of the activities.
Thank you so much for this. So practically we are wrapping up this session in this evaluation part with sharing one evaluation form. It's again in Google form, so you will find it in chat. So there is option to put your name. Once again, it's stated it's not obligatory. You can make it completely anonymous. More or less, it's about 10 minutes of your time. I'm gonna put some nice music on, and please do it. Please do it now if it's possible. And also, there's going to be one more official evaluation form from the European Commission, from the Erasmus program, but it's not going to come these days. It's going to come at some point, and maybe Sino knows. Usually, it's about 1 month, maybe after the activity is carried out, but I'm not sure. So please expect to apart to this one, there's going to be another official evaluation form sent by Erasmus program.
I just want to mention here something, Igor, sorry. Mostly this is really important for our evaluation of the project. So I will contact also your leader when this, or I will send to all of you the email that this report is sent. But most of the time it's coming to the junk email or to the spam email. So please check often and don't be afraid that it's a virus. It's not a virus, and it will take you also 5 or 10 minutes. But this is proving actually your participation to the Erasmus Plus, so it's really important for me, like an applicant organization. Thank you.
Okay, if there is no any question, please use this next 10 minutes to complete this form, and then we're going to come back for the follow-up steps and easily to conclude the session. So, Sino, maybe we have 9 forms submitted. So while people are still maybe finishing with their own, maybe we can easily wrap up on these. So please finish with your evaluation forms and submit them anytime you want. In the meantime, we have some things to explain. You completed this participants list. And Sino is going to tell us more about youth passes and also this formal evaluation form that's going to be received from the European Commission from the Erasmus program. So before we move on to follow-up steps, maybe about these technicalities and the certificates and so on, Sino.
Yes, thank you, Igor. I almost forgot about the youth pass. I don't know if it's all of you know about the youth pass, but the youth pass is actually a youth certificate recognized by Europe it's a recognition tool actually for non-formal and informal learning in the youth work. So this they are giving for all the attendance of any of these Erasmus Plus projects. But actually this I can generate it when you will answer to this interim report that I was talking about before that, about this Erasmus participant report. Not that I will wait for you to fill this, but actually I will be able to generate the youth passes when you will submit this answer. It will be also 5 or 10 minutes from your time. And then I'm receiving kind of a code and I will generate it. Normally we are giving, when it's face-to-face training, like we make like small ceremony and we are giving it personally, but this time it will be only PDF that you will receive in your email. But if somebody actually wants, it is possible that we can send it this hard copy to the leader or to the organization, and then you can see with your leader that you will have it like a hard copy. So that is actually about the youth pass. For this, I hope that you will fill this evaluation form from Igor. Igor, thank you also for making this evaluation form. And I think in the participant list, I have checked. I think that everybody, if somebody is missing, I will bothering you, or mostly I will bother to the leaders, so the leaders can contact you. I know that sometimes you can forget in these things, but for us it's really important. For you, it can be like 10 minutes, but for us, maybe we can receive some minus points, which will be not really pleasant for us. So, okay, Igor, I think that this is for the practicalities. I will just also not be really long about the follow-up and about the second activity from this project. Just to repeat shortly, this project has 2 intellectual outputs. The first intellectual output was actually testing this toolkit that we are doing now on this project. So this is the toolkit Radio for Quality Youth Work. I'm not sure if Steph, I think that it's not totally finished quad design. So you will receive it as well, like in 1 week. I'm sure that you will receive it on your email with the further information about the second step that I'm going to now. This is the toolkit that we made it with all of the experts, and more or less it's what it was covered here on this project. I will not speak in details about the intellectual output. It will be explained in the email, and you can also see it. It's kind of a PDF toolkit, which is more or less 100 pages, which are really useful and really great to have it like a toolkit in your further work. So this is the first intellectual output that we did it, and the second is actually the pilot radio shows with the title Around Europe in 60 Minutes. So that means that after this training course, you will have a chance to use your gained knowledge from this project and make a radio shows. Exciting. We are 5 partners, from which 2 are from Belgium. And actually one of the Belgium partner has no participant of this training. So that's why we will do from each country 2 pilot shows. So this is in total 10 because we are 5 partners. And each pilot radio shows actually aims to create a space where young people from the community can air their views and speak freely about issues who are important to them, putting them in a position to influence decision-making that affects them. In these radio shows, actually engaging youth with disadvantaged background from the local community will bring really bring an added value. And the content of the broadcast, actually of these pilot radio shows, will come entirely from you. Of course, will be mentored by us and the experts from all of this organization. So you will have close contact with the leader of your organization. And particularly, if you want also to contact some of us, like experts, I'm encouraging you to do that. I mean, in the mail that will follow after this training, you will have all of our contacts and everything that you need to know. But you are going to make these pilot programs. These programs, actually radio shows we are aiming to be approximately plus or minus 16 minutes or 1 hour. And it will be in both languages. So it will be in English and in your language. Actually, in your language, so we can also touch the local community in your countries, because not all of them are speaking English. So maybe my advice here, it will be to record the two of them in your language, and then we can translate them. Wait, just to be sure that I will not forget anything after. Okay. I also want to say that I'm making a website of this project, Youth on Air. So on this website, you can see all of our activities, and as well, you can find all of these PowerPoint presentations. Every day, every session of this day, we are recording these videos, so you can also come back to these videos if you want to. So also into this, I think that in 1 week or 2 weeks, I will finish this website. So in the following mail, you will receive also this website. What else for this? So I'm not going to go really into the details about two pilot radio shows that you are going to do. We were speaking also to be national or international, but we are going much more for national, just from practical reasons, because if it's international, it will last for long. You need to take the contact, it will still online. But we are not excluding this option. If somebody really wants to make some international radio shows out of these two, it is possible, but please consider us and contact us for this, and we will give you further advices and see how practically we can do this. I don't know, Maria, if you can add something here about the intellectual output or the radio shows. Okay, it's not a problem. Is it clear more or less what I just say for all of you? Okay, that's I'm really happy to hear. Actually, I don't have anything to add. Once again, this with these letters, I write it in my Word file, Erasmus Participants Report. Check your junk or spam mail. I will send you an email from it, will be confirmed. So from then on, maybe it will be in 1 or 2 weeks. I'm not really sure. Not 1 month, like Igor said, but after 1 or 2 weeks, you will receive this. And I will remind you. I mean, not every day, but once in a week, I will remind you.
Georgia, are you raising your hand? You've been stretching. Yeah.
I am raising my hand. So yeah, just this is the first time that we've heard how many pilot shows we'll be doing per country. It's something that we've been wondering about in the UK, and we kind of, when we found out it was 60 minutes per country, we assumed that we'd be working kind of as individuals on 4 separate projects. So can I just definitely confirm that we will be basically partnering up within our country to work on radio shows together as opposed to individually?
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But if you want to make some extra individually, just for your experience to gain it, I think that it will be possible if it's extra. But there are 2 per countries, right, Maria?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you. Some other questions? Yes, please, Georgia.
Sorry, I had another question just about the youth pass. Is this like a kind of, is this like a, so it's a certificate that, is this something that we can award to our young people who participate in our project? Is that the aim of it?
No, this is actually just a certificate that you was participating this training course.
All right, okay, cool. So it's a youth pass because it's about us working with young people, just because I know that our cohort isn't necessarily just all young people.
No, but actually maybe I will ask if there are some other certificates, but actually the youth pass is only if it's like some training learning activity, and if you participated fully, more than 80% actually, then you're receiving this. I need to ask because this is intellectual output 2, it's kind of intellectual output, and this is training course. So there are different activities.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yes, Shukrana, please.
So I have 2 questions. First is, do we need to use a program or any specific tool when we're gonna be like abroad on radio, on a broadcast?
But is the podcast, it will be first, I think, not live. So you need to record it. Yeah. And then all these platforms that Steph was mentioning, I mean, as much more platforms is better for us. So I think that, for example, from Belgium, what I was thinking that we're going to do is really to upload it on 3-4 platforms. So I don't know if I answered your questions, because your questions was it will be not live.
Yeah, I was asking, do we need a specific mic, or do we need to edit by ourselves?
Actually, you will see like what kind of resources they have in SIT in this case. Yeah? But normally I was speaking about, yeah, actually you missed no, you didn't miss this session, or no, about the microphones that we were speaking and all the equipment. But you can ask me actually all these questions in email, and I can answer you in details what you need. Now, because if I go now, what you really need, you will stay half more hour.
Okay, yeah, I didn't miss any session. And the second question was, like you mentioned, you're gonna send the certificate on a PDF. Can we like make it a hard copy by ourselves?
It is possible. Yes, yes, yes. That's actually a really good idea. It's better that I will send a post. It's for sure 50 cents to make it a hard copy. Yes, yes, I will send it in its color, and you can make hard copy, and you can even frame it. Some other questions, Ukraine?
Any other questions from anything related to this, what Sino just said, or general about the training, some technicalities, follow-up steps? I think always better while we're all together to discuss if something is still not super clear. Yeah, Georgia.
Sorry,
no need for sorry. I think it's good.
So obviously our pilot projects, our podcast will be pre-recorded. Will it be kind of like a live broadcasting day of these pre-recorded segments, and will that be done on a specific platform or even radio station where they will play all of them kind of back to back, and it will be kind of a culmination event? Or is it just we're just putting it out as and when?
No. Actually, also your organization will tell you that we are planning to have a multiplier events. So we are going also to share all of this knowledge to organize workshops to the youth, presenting also the same gained knowledge and presenting the toolkit, the intellectual output 1. And then one big event will be in Brussels. We will not do it like this, like everybody to hear this, because then there are 10 pilots program and that will be like 10 hours. Nobody will listen it. So that's why we are making this website. So everybody can check it in their time. But of course that we are going to present it maybe 5 minutes or the best segments or some segments about on these multiplier events that will happen in each country. And then I think through another platforms and through this website, we are going to reach people. That's the plan. And especially the local community in your countries. That's why it's in every language. So they can choose in their own language or in English. Depends if they are in Serbia or Macedonia or Belgium. Did I miss something here, Maria? No.
Sorry.
So I was just wondering, is every podcast every podcast is getting translated into every of the 5 participants' language?
No. That's why English is the universal. So you don't need to translate. It will be in English in your case. But for example, in Belgium, it will be in Dutch and in English. Yeah, so the English is in general. It would be really good, but I don't know. It will take a lot of time. Maybe we will do it if we have volunteers. Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea, yeah, but lots of work.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Because I'm sure that, for example, in North Macedonia, not everyone. Maybe the young people they speak now English, but my parents, for example, not really, and they would like to hear the podcast from UK. So thank you, Lauren. We will think and we will see we don't have a budget for that, so we need to search volunteers. But I think that is also interesting for the volunteers. I mean, to find volunteers. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? First time? Second time? Sold out. Thank you, Sino, for these. I think a lot of information. We still need to digest some of them, but it was very intensive 5 working days. Great people that we met here, great experts, a lot of shared inputs and so on. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your feedbacks. I think it will help us, for sure. It will help me to make this moderation even better in some future cases. We are still learning using all of these online tools. I probably I'm sharing your opinion as well, that we cannot hardly wait for a moment that we're gonna start to work activities back on, to put all of the activities back on track as it used to be before this crisis. So for me, it was interesting, it was challenging, it was dynamic. And for sure, if there is an opportunity to do it again, I will for sure change something based on what you said, but also based on what I felt throughout all of this. So for the last question from my side, I will ask you just for one word as your general impression after all of these 5 days. It could be anything you want, and please try not to repeat each other. So anyone can start, and I will continue from that person on. So just one word, your impression about these 5 working days.
Amazing.
Thank you, Zakayo. Maria, and then Huma, and then Georgia.
Intense.
Huma?
They were quite, it's one word, I'm just going, right. Immersive, quite immersive.
Thank you. Georgia, and then Simona.
New.
Thank you.
Educational.
Nenad, and then Lorian.
Interesting.
Inspiring.
Rabia, and then Nicolina.
Interesting.
I was also going to use the word inspiring.
Okay. Shukran.
I have unstable connection. I think you mentioned me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so to me it was challenging.
Challenging. Sino?
Intense.
Intense, yeah. Definitely packed. I would say packed from my side. Yeah. Thank you so much for your participation. We tried our best to put it in a way that's going to be enough learning moments for all of you, regardless of your previous experience in this topic. And for me, it was really a pleasure meeting all of you, and I hope that we're going to see sometimes in person. Wish you all luck in further implementation of this project, and I can't wait to hear some of your podcasts, some of your radio broadcasts, and I believe once when you finish with all of them, you're going to be so proud of tackling some topics that maybe in some communities no one is dealing with. So thank you so much from my side. I will give the last I will give floor to Sino for maybe last comments, and then we say goodbye, maybe to make one group photo.
I will just also thank you all for your effort and for being participants every day for 3 days, for 3 hours. Some of the participants, they couldn't join, but also I understand there were some particular reasons. I'm really, really pleased to meet you. And like Igor said, I would really love to see you in person. I hope that this COVID will not last for forever. So we can also come to these multiplier events. But I'm sure that we are going to have future projects and you will be contacted also on time. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. And let's make one photo, one, let's say normal one, one silly. Okay. So the normal one first. 1, 2, 3. And the silly one. 1, 2, 3. I will share to Sino and then he can, or I can share right now in here. So you can.
And Lorian, next time, if they don't close the borders, next time I'm in Manchester, I'll look you up.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, do it, man. Okay.
So the photos are there, so you can download them, but I will just in case send to Sino as well. So guys, enjoy the rest of evening. Stay in touch. Wish you all luck in this broadcast planning and development, and stay safe. Yeah, that's the most important now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. It's really great meeting you all. Yeah.
Great meeting all of you. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao,
Mama,
ciao.
say bye to your son.
Oh, I will. He loved getting to know everyone and being involved in everything. He just loves it.
But he's so disciplined. He just let you meet all the time. He was just appearing once in a while and then going.
People say that to me, and I'm like, I'm just lucky in that sense. He doesn't throw tantrums. He's just sat in a corner, just doing his thing, and he just likes getting cuddles every now and then, and that's it.
Well, that's really lovely.
Fair
Really
enough.
lovely.
He's adorable. He's adorable.
Well, tell him thank you on our behalf because he let you join the meeting.
Yeah, for taking you away from him.
He can take part in one of the podcasts.
Of course.
I mean, he learned. He's done the whole training. Maybe he can do one. You know?
All right.
He's supposed to claim for Youth Pass. Yeah. Ciao.
Good. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye-bye to everyone. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
All right. Bye.